Keenan Fry from the LFG podcast. And today it is just me flying solo in the studio. Amir is busy taking care of some more work, so it's just going to be me, Keenan Fry, your co-host. And today we are joined by none other than Collin from In Your Grave. So,
I'm glad to be here, man.
Collin, you are located out in the Salt Lake City, Ogden area, correct?
Yep.
All right. And your project is In Your Grave. You guys are kind of like a metalcore band. And, I kind of actually got recommended to your music actually through a mutual friend of ours, Johnny Nikoloff.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
From the breeder.
Yeah, from DeBreeder. Now, I got some funny stories. I went to high school with Johnny, so I got all the dirt from when he was a kid.
Heck yeah.
But he was a really cool guy back in the day when I met him at Carmont. And we had DeBreeder on because it had been the first, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years since I'd really seen him, because he had moved out to Ogden to go to school. And then he came back to visit his family. They had a sandwich shop called Deli Belly. He went back to Ogden and stayed out there, and he's been doing all these projects. And then kind of as our podcast has progressed, we've been meeting more people from the area, and it's kind of neat because you're one of the first guests that we're having on the show where we haven't really had a lot of direct connection with you before. So maybe you can kind of tell us how it is you got started in music and what your background is.
I guess I kind of got started in music kind of like when I turned 18. I was going to college, and then my foster dad at the time was opening a concert venue. My foster brother just wanted to run sound, and so we started a venue in Salt Lake City called the Loading Docks. And I ran it for about 10 years. We closed down like last November. But during that time period, I met a lot of cool band members and eventually started my own projects.
That's pretty cool. How big was the venue?
It started 300 cap, but then we went to 500 cap eventually.
And was it all ages?
It was, yeah. That was the nice part. There was no alcohol at all, which made it hard, but it was well worth it.
Yeah, the thing about the Bay Area is they've got a lot of venues out here, and they're all bars, so there's no real all ages venue. The closest thing I've seen to an all ages venue is probably the Catalyst in Santa Cruz. I don't know if you've ever been to.
I haven't.
Oh man, you got to come out. If you guys come out, we'll see if we can figure out a way to host you with a couple other people. But that's really cool, an all ages venue. So you guys did that for 10 years, and what were some of the acts that came through?
Oh shit, we had Beartooth actually before they were like really popping. We had Wage War before they were really popping. Varials, shit, I don't know, a lot of bands, honestly.
That's cool.
Spite, cool. Body Snatcher, Traders.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a really interesting aspect about the metalcore scene, which is kind of what you guys are a part of. A lot of projects, a lot of the touring projects, they end up going to these, I mean, they call them flyover states like Utah and so forth, but I think that they end up congregating there because the scenes out there and the venues are more oriented towards people going out. A lot of people come through the Bay Area, but I don't think they really like stay and make a whole lot of roots or connections out here,
Yeah, just a lot of quick meets.
And I think that's a bit of a difference, because Johnny's been telling me about the scene that you guys have out there, and it seems like everybody kind of knows everybody, and it's pretty well connected.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's Small Lake City, so I mean everyone knows everyone.
Small Lake City, that's a new one. What is it like? Is it sort of like a genre-based thing, or do you guys all just pull together regardless of what someone's doing?
I mean, I'm pretty regardless myself. A lot of my favorite acts aren't really metalcore. Some of my favorite locals, I guess one of my favorite of all time would be like Rip Momney. He's just like a solo keyboardist and stuff like that, but he's really good.
Never heard of them. Yeah, that's the thing. I've heard of a handful of bands from that area, like Cult Leader, a few others. Obviously, there's Chelsea Grin, which was kind of known for coming out of the Salt Lake area. but they're not really the same band anymore. I don't think there's any original members in there anymore.
Nope, not anymore.
You participated in the scene running this venue, and then you got into music yourself. So, what are you, the singer?
Yeah, exactly. I do vocals.
That's pretty cool. So, what really got you into the heavy metal style vocals instead of other types of singing?
I don't really have the best range of normal singing and stuff like that. And it wasn't really something I was interested in either. I'd been practicing screaming, I guess, before the venue was open, just because that's what I listened to as like a teenager. And so it just kind of came naturally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we had Chelsea Murphy on, and she's the vocalist for this project called Dawn of Ouroboros. They're on tour with Fallujah, and
Oh, hell yeah.
yeah, they're doing some cool shit. But she's got this pterodactyl scream, and we had a little video bump.
Again, let's go. You're listening to LFG Podcast.
I don't think that one went through at all because it was so hot.
And she blows out the mic, redlines everything because she's just screaming, and she's all the way back against the door, and she's screaming into the mic, and we had to do like 4 or 5 takes to get it clean. That was a really fun episode, though.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. So, all right. So you told us a little bit about some of your background, how you got into it. Can you tell us about the members of your band, because you've got 4 other people besides you, 5 total?
Yeah, we got 2 right now. Jake Collier and Connor Anderson that are kind of finalized at the moment. We recently lost our drummer, so we're taking out a few tryouts right now, and hopefully we'll get someone finalized here shortly. And then we got a couple a guitarist that we're looking at bringing on as well, but nothing to announce quite yet.
Okay, so you're resetting the lineup because I saw a lot of the stuff you had sent us. You had a really cool music video, the Evil Dead kind of video that you guys had put together, and there was a couple of you in that, but those people aren't really in the current lineup anymore.
No, it's the same band. The only one that's different is the drummer.
Okay, just the drummer. Okay.
Yeah, and then we might be adding another guitarist is the only other thing.
What's up, everybody? My name is Stephen Page, and I am the drummer for the band In Your Grave. So for me, my biggest musical influences are probably consistent of players that don't necessarily like just go crazy all over the drum kit all of the time. At least for me, like the thing that I've been drawn to the most as far as drums go is like whenever a drummer just has like unmatched feel and groove and timing, like that's what grabs my attention, not necessarily crazy fills or chops or speed or anything like that. If I actually had to name names, biggest one and the most important one to me would be the late and very, very great the Rev from Avenged Sevenfold. Just he was the first drummer that I ever like really heard when I was a kid. Like him and his playing with Avenged Sevenfold is what got me to like hear the drums for the first time. And if it wasn't for everything that he did, whether he was, playing his crazy fills or whatever, just something about his feel and his dynamics and the way that he approached music just spoke to me so much. And that's definitely been the biggest influence on me for sure. But I guess a couple other people that have probably been big musical influences to me would be probably Moose from Bullet for My Valentine. Just the way that he would come up with grooves and just like he would always serve the song, which is the most important thing in my mind. Serve the song first, add the flash later. And that's kind of been how I always approach music. And I feel like it's because of listening to old school Bullet for My Valentine and studying Moose and his playing and the way that he constructed songs and structured them out. Like, it's because of what he did that has inspired me to try to do the same. So I'd honestly say that those two are just players who just have incredible feel, timing, just dynamics. That's like that's the way to go as far as writing music goes.
We're kind of talking about was how you got into the project that you just recently released, which was Tusk. This was all part of In Your Grave. This was one of your recent releases, and maybe you can tell us how you got started with it.
Yeah, most definitely. So me and my old drummer Jose, he was a pretty big part of the band for a while, and me and him sat down with Chris George, an old member of Sworn In, and we kind of like demoed out some songs together, and we kind of sat on those for a little bit, and then we added Jake Collier and then Collin Anderson into the band, and when we went into studio, we reworked a lot of those demos into Tusk. So we took some sections here and there and just made it more our own, I guess.
You know, that's pretty cool because it had initial roots in one place and then it changed over time. A lot of the people I talk to when they're putting out a release, they tend to sit on material. One group in particular who's going to come on our show later on, a friend of mine, told me about the process of writing his record where they sat on material for close to 7 years before releasing it. Is that kind of what the situation was like? You sat on it for a while before it got released?
No, not really. Usually, typically, we'll go into studio, get all that paid for, and once we get back the track, it's shoot a music video or get some sort of content going with it to help the release and stuff like that. And usually, I mean, I don't think we really sit on content longer than, I would say, like 6 months.
Wow. Okay. So 6 months is pretty fast. I mean, so I'm kind of new to your project, but tell me, how many releases have you then had?
We've had 3 EPs right now, but we just barely started our first full-length album. We're about halfway recorded through that, but I don't think that'll come out for a while, just hopefully the beginning of next year, just to get videos recorded and everything like that put together.
Okay. You guys are kind of sort of more organized than a lot of the other folks I've met. You guys kind of have a sort of rhythm in place. Even though you're putting out this full release, you've just put out Tusk. That was like last year, I believe.
Yeah, it was in October, November-ish.
That's what I thought of 23. So close to the end of 23, early 24 is what I thought it was when I last looked at it. So you guys are pretty structured. I mean, was that something where when you went into this project, you said, you know, we have to do things differently? Have you been in projects before where it kind of is a bit of a scramble, for a lack of a better description?
Yeah, for the most part. I just didn't want to get stuck in like the same area for too long. I'm like 29 and Jake's 34. And so we didn't want to be doing it forever. So the harder we could hit it and the more organized and stuff like that, we felt like it would be better than taking our time with it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I find that really kind of gives the project cement shoes is when people hesitate and they overthink whatever it is they're doing. It's usually best to just get it out and move on to the next thing. And like you said, you know, you're getting to that age where you want to just start hammering things out, and it's, you know, finished is better than perfect. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I respect that. All right. So we're going to come back in just a moment. We're going to take our first break. We're going to play some music from In Your Grave. And thanks for sticking around. And we'll be back with Collin in just a moment.
Got my thoughts and I hit 'em with it. Put my socks and I hit him with it. Put my shades up in a bank, wanna hit him, pull the Glock, got my socks and I hit him with it. Put my shades up in a bank, wanna hit him, pull the Glock, got my socks and I hit him with it. Put my shades up in a bank, wanna hit him with it.
Cause bodies in the kitchen, talk fast, working these stitches. Where is your pain? Where do you burn? Oh God, disappearing actors, keeping trapped better than routine.
Hey, and we're back. I'm here with Collin from In Your Grave, and during the break, you were listening to Drift City. That was the music video by In Your Grave, and I'm still here with Collin. How you doing, man?
How's it going?
So we got you back, and during the break, we were kind of chewing the fat, and one of the things you told me about is that you guys are kind of spread all over the map. You know, you're a little bit south of Ogden and about 4 hours, not a little bit, but a lot. And you got some friends up in Ogden who are part of the project, and you guys kind of have to meet up and collaborate when you're doing your practices and doing your rehearsals. And one of the things you told us is you got like a late start date for the coming release. Sometime, it sounds like in late 2025 is what we're hearing. But you guys do a lot of tours together, and you guys meet up and you prep in advance, and you guys have to coordinate everything. There's a lot of business strategizing that goes into that. I think a lot of people who go into music don't really realize how much planning has to go into it. They want to just hang out and play, but you have to do the planning, the timing, the booking, all the prep work. Can you maybe talk about how it's like to coordinate people from, you know, all over the state?
Yeah, most definitely. It's kind of, I mean, it's fun. I guess the easiest part is getting everyone together. We all want to see each other. So setting practices up. We don't really practice, I guess, like a traditional band, like every week or anything like that. But what we do is we meet for studio and stuff like that. It's in Salt Lake, so we'll come together twice a week for that. And then when we get ready for tours, about like a couple days beforehand, we'll kind of meet up together. If we're going south, we'll meet at my house just because I live farther south. And then if we're going north, we'll stay at Jake's and practice up there. And so we can rehearse kind of the night before, make sure our levels on the rack are good and the backtracks are coming through and everything like that.
You kind of have to trust everyone to practice.
And then after that.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
That's the hardest part. Oh, you're okay. That's the hardest part, is just getting everyone to practice in the same time, because we don't meet all the time. If someone doesn't practice at home, then it just doesn't really work. And so we have had member changes, and things just haven't worked out with people if they can't be responsible, I guess, during their own time. But as long as everyone just practices in their own time, there's usually not too much of an issue.
It sounds kind of like you're in school, almost like you're giving homework to the band members. Who thought you'd have homework if you were in a band? I thought that was the whole point of being in a band. So one of the things that
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of work to be done.
One of the things you mentioned that was really impressive is that you've done 5 tours. Some of them were smaller, but regardless, you've actually been able to organize yourselves to do these 5 tours. You mentioned some of the people you toured with. Can you fill us in on some of the people you have played with?
Yeah, some of our good buddies we went on the road with was, I guess the first band was Cold Hearts. They're from Oregon, and they just basically released a new song just recently, and so you got to check them out. And then we toured with another band called When the Broken Burn, and we did like 14 days around the West Coast and did a couple days in Cali, and went up into Oregon. We play the PNW a lot, and so we played with Exanimate on another tour, and they're great friends as well. And then the other couple, we've just kind of solo DIY type stuff.
a lot of the bands, what's make or break for them is if they can actually not only book their own tour, but follow through on the dates. And one of the things that's really kind of scary about touring is you reach out to somebody in a different city, sometimes in a different state, and you're banking on that other person keeping their word, having a place for you to crash, having the venue actually set up, having everything kind of in place. And that's like a lot of moving pieces. And you're doing this either, over the internet or in the old days over the phone. And that's kind of crazy. So, you have some background in that because you worked at a venue, but how do you go about it? What's your strategy to booking tours and setting up all the dates and doing the logistics? Because that's actually like the real work of running a band or a real project like this.
Yeah, I guess the hard part first was just getting established enough to where people want to book you. It's really hard if you're a really, really fresh band and stuff like that. But the more like views and subscribers and I guess more of a following that you have, it's a little easier to negotiate with like booking agents and venues and stuff like that. But usually my first step is, besides that, would be to make a really good pitch, really narrow down your bills. We own our van, luckily, but we have to take in consideration gas and other expenses when we go to venues. So typically we try to just get enough of a guarantee or work out a strong door deal to where we feel like if we had locals that it would at least cover our expenses that way, and then we can make money on merch on the road.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I hear from a lot of folks is that their bread and butter is merch. But one of the things that's kind of been a problem somewhat in the Bay Area is people asking for merch cuts, which is kind of one of the toughest things to deal with because that's not only eating into your income, but if something goes sideways, that's actually how you fix your van. That's how you kind of get yourself out of a rut if something happens. So, I mean, it's really weird because a lot of people think that, they're going to go off, play music, be in a band and kind of like take over the world. But really, you're starting a small business. You're basically a service company because you're driving around from city to city performing. It's basically your performance is like a service. And then your product is the merchandise you sell. But the ability to sell your merch is based off of the service you provide. And it's really hard to get that guarantee for those tours that you're self-booking. And it's even harder when people are like eating into your margin through things like merch cuts or just having to do maintenance on your vehicle. I mean, these are the kinds of things that I don't think a lot of people really understand about tour life or just band life in general. I mean, so how do you guys kind of deal with that? How have you guys been successful with dealing with those kinds of problems?
Luckily our van I bought not too long ago, and it was pretty fresh, like 100,000 miles on it. I rented out to other bands on tour, so that kind of helps, I guess, cut the overhead costs, and it helps fix the van that way as well, since it's not just us putting in money. But it does cost a lot. I mean, I'm getting tires just right now on my van, and just 4 tires without installing them and everything like that was like $800. So it's kind of rough. But I guess for us, typically I try to ask for like a $200 to $300 guarantee. I guess our van only gets like 10 miles a gallon with the trailer. So depending on how far we're going and then the next stop, it got to kind of work out. But we've worked with enough people, I guess, to where we have like, there's a venue in Idaho Falls called The Heart that we go to a lot. It's not the only venue that we work with, but we go there a lot. And then there's a place called the Knitting Factory in Boise. And I mean, we work with a lot of the same people and we build a rapport. And that also makes, I guess, getting booked easier because now you're friends with these kind of people.
And I think that's part of like the networking thing is that like, as you show that you're reliable, what you were talking about in the beginning about getting yourself established to where people want to book you, but as you show that you're reliable, people then start to lean on you for whatever resources you can offer. One of the things that I learned, I'm a graphic designer in addition to this, but I don't make really a lot of money as a graphic designer. My income comes from being a teacher. I teach special education. I teach the blind and visually impaired. So I teach people to read Braille, and I've worked in special ed for the last 7 going on 8 years. And that's where I get my income from, and, keep the studio open. But the way I've done things as a graphic designer is kind of similar to what you're talking about. I do in-kind trades where I will swap logos or artwork with people, and they'll do things like make music for the show, or they'll help promote the show in some way. And it's really just about figuring out how you can trade things, because as much as people need money to pay their bills, you can actually get more leverage out of making a trade than necessarily out of, having somebody pay you direct cash for something. And you just have to find a way on your own to kind of cover your bills on your own. That's kind of how I've sort of done this myself.
Yeah, it's better to be useful than just fill someone's pockets. That's 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, but it does get frustrating sometimes, because it feels like you're putting in a lot of work. I mean, one of the projects I recently did for a client clocked in 200 hours.
Woo.
Yeah, right. It was a painting. It was a memorial painting, but yeah, it was a 200-hour project. So my question for you is, when you're kind of in that grind, how do you stay positive as you're working through the process?
I feel like having it super organized, kind of like we do. I literally have like this document section in our Google Drive, and it has like a little bill section with like / to-do list kind of thing. And I used to run that thing out like 3 months or so, and so everyone's kind of like aware of what's going on. And as long as we're making the steps on time, it doesn't look like we're losing any progress. And so it kind of, I guess, keeps us motivated, because we know we're on schedule, and we're getting things done in a timely manner, I guess.
Yeah, to-do lists are essential. I mean, I think that one of the things I learned from special education is you have deadlines for when you do assessments for kids. And so I make a lot of to-do lists too. And it sometimes feels like you're trying to like chop down a forest worth of trees, and you're just hacking away nonstop, because you just feel like there's too much to cut away at. But if you take it one day at a time, you kind of make that mental progress. I think it's a mindset thing, I think, is really what it is.
Yeah, like when we started the album, when we started writing our full length, it's supposed to be 14 songs, and so everyone at the start was just like, "Man, that's a long album, and that's long. Can we like cut down a few songs? You sure 14?" And I was just like, "Man, it won't be that bad." And I like broke it down into a 28-week like writing schedule. And I think right now we're probably going to finish closer to around like the 20-week mark rather than like 28 weeks. And so that really makes you feel good when you're like passing schedule, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the calendar thing that you're talking about, it really seems like the make or break, because it gives you deadlines for everything. It lets you know when you're falling behind, or like you, in your case, moving ahead. It also gives you an idea, because you're writing everything, but you're going to have to go into the studio, and it kind of gives you an idea when you need to start setting aside cash and squirreling away for those recording fees. Because that's the other thing you have to coordinate, is how are you going to pay for everything? I've had friends in the past where they were doing projects, and one person puts everything on their credit card, and then everyone else is like, "Oh, I'm good for it, I swear, hand to God," And then that one person gets basically fucked for like 8 to 10 grand if it's merch or something like that. That's not a fun situation.
No, it's not. And I guess we've tried to avoid that situation a little bit by doing like the bill scheduling kind of thing. But then I also got the band in LLC when we first started.
Oh.
And so now I've been able to get like a band credit card and things like that. So it's not a huge limit. But if there's like an emergency, or if we're short like a little bit of money, we're able to not have people stress about it or have someone take a loan themselves necessarily.
All right. You just said the magic word, You just said the magic word. I am a fellow small businessman with my own LLC. I am the Acid Drip LLC.
Oh yeah, in
Yeah.
your grave LLC over here.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. See, I think that's one of the things. Okay, I want to talk about this in the third segment. We're about to run out of time, but we're going to pick up from here. We're going to go on break and we're going to come back in a minute. This is actually really good because this is the business stuff and this is how you like not run your project into the ground. We'll be back in a moment. We're going to play another song by In Your Grave. Hang on, all right?
I swear with all God and say
Hey, and we're back. We were just listening to Callous by In Your Grave. And again, we are joined by Collin Anderson from In Your Grave. And we were just talking about LLCs, and you were telling me that you have one for In Your Grave, and that kind of came about from your time working at the loading dock. And at first, when you worked for the loading dock, they didn't have an LLC, right?
Yeah, it was for a very, very short period when we opened. But we ran into complications not having it, and then just having it made things so much more easier and more professional as well with banks and everything as well.
Yeah, it helps because you're not only able to do the deductions and so forth on your taxes, but then you're an actual entity. And so when you talk to other institutions, they take you more seriously. You're not just some Joe Blow, the guitarist, or so and so the singer. You're an entity. They regard you differently. Like when you cut a check, it's not your name, it's the entity name on it.
Yeah, exactly. When we went and played for Live Nation, we had to fill out their tax form and, put the business EIN in there and everything like that. And then, yeah, they pay you in check at the end of the night with In Your Grave LLC.
So one of the things that kind of causes problems in bands, and I want to hear your take on it, is that a lot of folks think that bands are democracies, and I'm not advocating for like fascism or something here, but you kind of need to have one person in charge at the end of the day saying, this is what we're going to do and this is how we organize. And when you have an LLC, there is one person who's listed as the representative, and that person is the de facto leader. It's weird because you have the person who holds the LLC and then you have the other band members. How do you balance things so that people don't feel like you're just being a dictator and you keep the band dynamic on equilibrium?
I guess when we first started, it was me and the drummer. We actually had a partnership LLC.
Oh God, LLCs
and
are hard to manage.
But when he left, I had to renew the LLC just as an as like a independent LLC or by myself. I can't think of the right term.
Single member.
But
single member. Yeah.
single member LLC. And now that we're a single member LLC, a lot of my other band members don't really want to worry about the taxes, to be honest with you. Like I've offered my guitarist to see if he even wanted to do a partnership LLC, because after Jose left, I was like, do you just want to do it? And he was like, no. He's like, I don't want to worry about the taxes. And so I just kind of do all that stuff. And my dad's an accountant, luckily. And so he kind of helps out with a lot of our like taxes at the end of the year and stuff like that. But to keep everything, I guess, easy and organized, what we're doing for next year is we're trying to just do a couple, I guess, longer tours that are bigger. And to do so, you have to, I guess, agree on a band that you're going to go with and stuff like that. And we usually just take a vote. We'll all hear everyone's opinions and then kind of choose what everyone thinks is the best. But yeah, that's kind of what it boils down to. I might be the LLC owner, but I don't necessarily want to be the only member. I would like to hear everyone's opinions because they have good ideas and stuff as well.
Yeah, it sounds like you're trying not to necessarily call the shots, but you're trying to also be fiscally responsible. And I think that that's one of the things is like people mix business and pleasure. And, that's the problem, is that you have to have someone at the end of the day, saying, hey, there is a bottom line that we have to meet. I mean, the guy famously from Lamb of God, who was sort of like the organizational backbone, was Chris Adler, the drummer. He was the guy who was like, no, we got to do it right. And you have to have somebody saying that. I think people get afraid that if they start a business or that they have that kind of infrastructure, that it'll destabilize the band. I've heard people say that, but I think that if you don't have that structure, it's more damaging to you in the long term. And if someone is opposed to having that structure, that's a sign to me that that person isn't really willing to cooperate or move the project forward because they're not willing to take the steps, the extra steps to be organized. That's my take on that. I don't know how you feel about that, but
No, I agree with you fully. I guess for myself, like you said, I don't want to be the shot caller, but I definitely do want to be like a manager of time, I guess. I want to make sure everyone's doing their parts and doing the things they need to do. And I don't think that would ever disorganize a band in any way. I think that and if anything, it keeps us all on the same boat. Like when we started this album, we really broke down what we wanted to do as far as touring, because I'm a dad, I have 2 kids, and then Jake's got a wife and he's gonna get a family going and stuff like that. And so we're just getting older, and so to just spontaneously do things sometimes it's just hard. So when we all came together and we're like, hey, these are our goals, we're not really going to settle for less. You know, if something comes our way and it doesn't like meet the criteria, you know, it might be best just pass on it for now, just because you don't know what could be coming around the corner the next time.
Yeah, I think that when you are really organized and you have an idea of what your goals are clearly laid out, you get to be more picky and choosy about what opportunities you take. And I think sometimes it's more valuable to pass on something. I think that when you make decisions from desperation, you're not really making a decision, you're more or less reacting. The only time you're really making a decision is when you put yourself in the driver's seat and then take that personal responsibility. With that, I want to pivot a little bit because you mentioned something really cool. You're a dad. I didn't know that. You got 2 kids. That's got to be really hard to manage. But like, I think that's probably one of the most fulfilling things someone can do is be a parent. I'm a teacher. You know, I obviously work with kids. You know, so what is it like to balance all of this? You know, running a band, a business, and trying to be a dad and a husband. I guess. Like, how's all of that working out for you?
I guess I would say at the start, when I had the loading docks like 10 years ago, it was kind of hard because we were all ages. We weren't grossing a lot of money. We weren't able to pay our staff like a lot of money either. Most of them would get paid less working at our venue than other venues. But I mean, the atmosphere was better and people would still work for us. And I guess eventually, I had to live in the venue because I live so far away. I would drive 4 hours to work, usually on the weekends or like when there were big shows that I needed to be at. And then I would drive home after those events or after like a weekend if there was a couple shows. And I would spend as much time as I could at home. But now that the loading docks is closed, I spend most of my time at home, which was a really big change in dynamic. And my one son's, he's 8 right now, about to turn 9. And so for the first little while of his life, he only saw me, I guess, like half the time. And so now that I'm around a little more, he likes it. But then it does add like complications too, because you got to get like, he does wrestling and gymnastics and like sports. And so planning around his activities and making sure that he's number one is still my main concern. But then that's kind of why we've had to pass on certain opportunities, because if I took every opportunity, then I would be taking away from him. And so it's really hard to, I guess, make sure that everything's okay. But I always put family first. And but the band is still the main driving force of like things that I'm working to accomplish, I guess.
That's actually pretty cool. One of the things that I've run into as a teacher is I run into people from all walks of life who make their lives work around their kids, especially because I work in special education. I've worked with kids who are nonverbal, kids who are obviously blind, severe autism. I've taught kids to walk. I had a student who hadn't walked. He was 19. I taught him to walk. It took me 35 days, 5 hours a day, 165 hours, and I got him to walk 2/3 of a mile. So I've done a lot of stuff like that. And I think that the thing that I learned from working in special ed and working with the parents is there is a way to make it work. And, you know, a lot of people have kids and they make that work. And then you have the families who have special needs kids and they find a way to make it work. And it's very difficult. And the thing that I run in, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I couldn't do it without my girlfriend either. My wife is, we're getting married in September 28th, but she's been there the whole 10 years. And without her really being there and being supportive, it'd be impossible to, because the distance that we suffered and everything like that, I mean, it takes your toll on a relationship. So you really got to find the right person and make sure that they believe in you, I guess, just as much as you believe in them and yourself as well.
Yeah, I mean that was the point I was trying to get to, and you just said it right there. Like, I think that people try to find excuses for why they can't do something. Like, it's too hard for me to have kids. I want to do a band thing. I can't do them at the same time. I want to start a business right now. I can't, be with my kids, or I want to go back to school. I can't do that while I have a family, or I have to. They come up with reasons for why they can't do something instead of just kind of attacking it. And it's kind of a mess. Like you said, you lived in your venue. It's kind of a mess in the beginning, but it sorts itself out over time because you're working at it. It doesn't happen immediately, but by working at it, you get there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I will never trade in those days of sleeping on the couch in the green room. I mean, that's, in my eye, kind of made me the way I am, or helped me get here, because when you're sleeping in a venue, and then we had a bar behind us, and so whenever you tried to sleep at like 2 o'clock in the morning, all you would be hearing is their house music playing really loud and bumping in the walls. And I mean, it wasn't enjoyable. And so I, like, living there wise, all the work and the meeting with people was super fulfilling. And so eventually you got to do it for the right reasons and stuff too.
All right. Well, I really appreciate everything that you said about, staying focused and just having a mindset of working through the issue rather than seeing it as a barrier, seeing it as something to be overcome, like rising to the challenge. We're going to go briefly to our last break. We're going to listen to one more song by In Your Grave, and then we're going to come back for the secret segment. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll be back in just a moment.
To
And we're back. You're listening to the LFG podcast. And during the break, we were listening to the song Sick by none other than In Your Grave. And I am here with Collin again for the final segment of the show. And what we are going to do, you guys know this segment. You guys know it. You guys love it. This is Fucked Up Flashcards. We're going to bring this to the top. We got the clock on screen. All right, so Collin, this is how it works. All right, Fucked Up Flashcards. I'm going to ask you as many questions as I can in 2 minutes, and you answer as fast as you can. All right?
All right.
It's just going to be us attacking you with questions. This is it. All right, are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right, all right. All right, and 3, 2. Okay, Collin, dolphins or chimpanzees?
Dolphins.
All right, you have to murder all the dolphins on the planet.
Ah,
All right, would you rather listen to Limp Bizkit or Korn?
corn.
All right, you're never allowed to listen to Korn again. Instead, you have to listen to Rihanna. Every time you want to listen to Korn, you have to play Rihanna instead.
Ah,
All right, would you rather take a family trip over the weekend to a lake, go swimming with the kids, or go to the mountain and go skiing with the kids?
shoot, to the lake with the kids.
Lake, all right. Listen to jazz or country?
Country.
Okay. Fight a gorilla or floss a tiger's teeth?
Floss a tiger's teeth.
All right. Fish tacos or lasagna?
Lasagna.
All right. Randy Blythe or Jelly Roll?
Jelly roll.
You have to go back in time to when Jelly Roll was starting as a singer and convince him to instead be a lawyer. Therefore, he never makes any music ever. All right. Megadeth or Slayer?
Slayer.
All right, all right. Never play a breakdown again or eat live scorpions that are stinging your tongue as you're eating them.
Eat live scorpions.
All right. Take your kids to a gymnastics meet or have a family barbecue.
Gymnastics meet.
All right. And you actually beat the timer. You did Fucked Up Flashcards with an extra 30 seconds. All right. I'm going to turn off the clock widget because we are done. But what I wanted to ask you is at the end of every segment, we give everybody a chance to kind of just give some shout outs to say thanks to anybody they want to reach out to, anybody who's helped them out, whether it's, you know, you guys have actual sponsors or just friends, bands in the area, venues, just anyone you want to give some regular thanks to. Go ahead and just take a moment to do that.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with Phoenix Pro for helping us out with some sponsors and some gear, and then as well as Harbor Strings and Scorpion Percussion as well. They always have the hookup on sticks. Past that, I guess I just like to shout out my girlfriend and the rest of my bandmates if you're watching this.
All right, all right. Can you tell us what your friends are doing? I think you mentioned Jake was in a couple of projects as well. What are they? If you know some people, other people in the area for the audience to check out, you know, maybe some people.
Yeah, I would say check out Dethrone the Sovereign. That's my bassist Connor Anderson's band. And then I would also say I'm trying to think. I would say check out Rip Momney, but those are the only other projects I can think of at the moment.
Cool. All right. Well, what we'll do is we'll find some links. I'll get some links from you for those projects and the people you named, and we'll throw them up in the video description. Collin, I just wanted to say thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show. It was great having you. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next. You've got a release coming out in 2025. Last minute question. Do you have a name for it, or is it still untitled?
It's still untitled at the moment. Yeah. Everything right now is just In Your Bum and some dumb demo names.
That's actually though when the project is most fun because you got goofy names. All right. Well, that was Collin Anderson from In Your Grave. They've got an unnamed album that will be coming out 2025. Look for In Your Grave for more releases. I appreciate you coming on the show, man, and you have a nice day, dude.
Yeah, you too, man.
All right, that's it. Peace.